Welcome to the BTR podcast. I'm Anne. Click on the link below to hear the full podcast episode. Just thought that was a really interesting idea that forgiveness can actually move you farther away from abuse and farther away because you're not expecting anything from them anymore. You can consider what they owe you, if it's money, if it's a relationship, whatever it is, you can consider it to be cursed, right? Even if they gave you that thing that they owe you, alimony, I don't know what it would be, right? A car payment. If you consider that to be cursed as a way that they can use to get their hooks in you, then it's a little bit easier to say, you know what? You don't owe me anything. I am going to turn to healthy people, myself, my faith, something else, not for justice, but, I'm going to forgive that debt and I'm going to look elsewhere for that thing that I need.
And I look at this really I'm in health for 30 plus years. And when you are like banging your head against the wall, trying to get someone to understand and to see, and you're proving and you're explaining and you're not getting anywhere. And this person at this point in their life and their current level of consciousness, they're either incapable or unwilling, to do anything different than what they're consistently showing you. Then you want to take a look and say, is this worth my health? Is this worth my sanity? Is this worth me really compromising every other aspect of life because it's tainting everything? And when you look at the widespread effect of how it's affecting you physically, mentally, emotionally, how it's affecting how you show up at work and at home and with your family, in all these places, here's where, I really look at the motivation to forgive. Again, having nothing to do with the other person, but we're giving them so much power. And if we're giving them so much power, well, what's left for ourselves and our own growth? Looking at it like that and knowing what the body is physically doing when we're expecting and hoping and, waiting on anything external. That's always a recipe for disaster. Instead of knowing like I can only control myself, any attachment I have and any expectation is potential for me being really let down, really disappointed, and really sick. And that's just not worth it.
So we have strategies to do this in our Living Free workshop, and Dr. Silber has strategies on her website, thepbtinstitute.com. And then our Living Free workshop has some strategies that help with reframing things like this in your mind so that you can feel peace regardless of where he is, which is the point. And for us, it's specifically in the relationship, usually while you're still trying to make your way to safety. So you founded National Forgiveness Day. Can you talk about how that happened?
Yeah, there were so many people that were struggling in so many ways from things that happened throughout their lives. And it was actually a social experiment. I wanted to see, is it possible to move to more forgiving and free with intention? That was the intention. And then when we were kicking off this 21-day forgiveness journey, I thought, what would really amp this up? And I thought of the idea of this National Forgiveness Day, a day to really do this. And I'll tell you, just today, I got an email from somebody. She's in her late 80s. And for 70 plus years, she's had digestive issues because of a family betrayal. And through forgiveness, through this 21-day experience, the gut issues are gone. You don't want to think you have to be in your late 80s to do this work. I'm so impressed with her that she did, but that's what can happen. So we had example after example of people who forgave themselves for being too hard on themselves, or always making choices that weren't in their best interest, or, choosing that person, or sticking around too long, or forgiving the hurt that they caused someone else. And, everybody has their own thing. And it didn't have to be the most triggering of their experiences. I actually encourage them to start with something a little smaller, like the coworker who snubbed you, something like that. And the idea of intentionally and deliberately working on this for our sake, it made such a difference. And it was just so great to see.
That's awesome. I have such a hard time. Sometimes I don't even want to say the word forgiveness on the podcast because there was so long where even if someone mentioned it, it was just like a knife to my heart. And so if that is where you are at, it's okay. It's okay. And there will never be a time, at least at BTR, where we say, you have to forgive, because the treatment really is safety. And I have found so many times that part of the reason why women are having a hard time with forgiveness is because they are not yet safe. They're still currently incurring an injury. And if somebody's hitting you on the head, that's not really the time to even think about forgiveness, right? You need to make sure that you're not getting hit on the head first. At least listeners here to BTR, if that is hard to hear and difficult, it's probably because you're still being actively injured and you need to make your way to safety. That's a really good indicator that safety has not been established in so many cases.
And we are totally on the same page with that. I remember when I was doing my research, there was a study I read, and it said if you feel safe and valued, and you forgive, you feel better. If you do not feel safe and valued and you forgive, you feel worse. And then in my research, I kicked it up a notch and I said, well, what would happen if we changed the word forgive to rebuild or reconcile? And it would sound like this. If you feel safe and valued and you reconcile, you feel better. If you do not feel safe and valued and you reconcile, you feel worse. And I think that's really what we're both speaking about. This has everything to do with our sense of safety and security, and forgiveness is, again, my suggestion. The way I'm suggesting it is having zero to do with that other person. That doesn't mean you're rebuilding, you're reconciling. No, it is only for your own freedom. Rebuilding, though, however, has everything to do, so much to do with that other person.
If you relate to any part of this video, click on the link below to hear the full podcast episode.